Welcome back to the Tiberium Hangar. Welcome to 2022. I hope that everybody had a great New Year's, a safe New Year's Eve, and all that kind of stuff. And I really do hope that you did not party too hardy or too hungover today. You know, kind of like the Hulk. The Hulk's secret is that he's always angry. Well, my secret is I'm always hungover. Just kidding, not really. But anyway, trying to make light of this. This is a very serious topic that I'm going to discuss today, ushering in 2022, and this is going to be about selling and how they're going to tax requirements, the generation of a 1099K. If you only sell 600 bucks, it used to be 20,000. Now I touched on this in my selling, but I didn't know that they were going to change to 600 starting on the first of the year. So I have to make this video to correct that error. Also, there's other people in this space that make videos like I do, and they're much bigger. They have more ad revenue, they have Patreons, and they sell merch. You know, these people that sell like a coffee mug or a t-shirt or whatever the heck a Sherpa is, these people would actually have a lot more input on this topic than I would, because they've been dealing with these 1099Ks all along. But I would challenge all of them to step up to the plate. Now, I think they're probably not going to, because they're a little scared of the 5 or 6 confused people out there that are going to leave crazy comments down below. And by the way, open arms, anybody who's really upset or confused, you can leave a comment down below and I'll chat with you. Anyway, we're going to get all into this and talk about the tax change reporting for selling online. Coming up. All right, we're going to just get right into it. And what is it? Well, it really starts in March of 2021. There was the Rescue America plan, where they were rescuing Americans from themselves here with this plan. And I got to say that there's so much in this plan that I'm not really going to talk about any of it except for this 1099K reporting and how it affects collectors. So what it is the payment card or third-party network transactions. They used to be $20,000 and 200 transactions. You could do that without getting a 1099K generated on you. Now, in my selling video, I discussed they set that parameter up so that collectors can have a hobby, people have a hobby, or people on the side that are just selling stuff that they don't have to track down receipts. They don't have to perform a seance on their grandmother to ask where the receipt is for a TIE fighter that they got when they were 6 or something like that. So they changed it from 20,000 to 600. That's a 97% decrease. And the first thing people are going to be saying right off the bat is that you're supposed to be reporting any income, no matter what. So this shouldn't change anything, but it does change a lot, because most people that are selling under 20,000 or 2,000, 8,000, 15,000 worth of stuff don't have receipts, don't have a way to prove it. There's other ways to prove it, but you'll have to see a tax professional for that. So this affects all payment processors, PayPal, or there's just so many out there, but eBay and PayPal and whatever, big deal. But there's the Google checkout, I guess. Amazon's got a thing going. Apple's got an Apple Pay. There's also some sort of Facebook Pay that I hear about that I steer clear of. Steer clear of that. But there's other things too, like using the Square and all that. There's just so many online payment processors. And each one of them, if you hit $600, then you get your 1099K. Now, a lot of people are talking about, well, maybe you'll just sell 500 here, 500 there, and, you know, that's how they'll do it. Now, if you want to do that, that is also considered, if you do it that way and use too many different payment processors, you're being looked at as tax evasion, not tax avoidance. You don't want to fall into tax evasion. So what exactly is a 1099K form? Well, now that you've hit 600 and you're a multinational conglomerate in the eyes of the government, well, before you worry about your 1099K, you need to appoint yourself a director of operations, director of marketing, somebody in charge of logistics. Okay, I'm just joking, trying to keep it light here, but I do want to say that they are going to put on this 1099K. What they're putting on this here is your gross sales. And one of the things that you're not going to know that goes into it is gross sales. Let's say you refunded somebody something or you paid out something. It's not going to show up on here. They won't put on this that you refunded it back out. They're going to say your gross sales, so it includes whatever your initial sell was, even if you refunded it. It's also going to have tax collected in your behalf, so there's so much more to this. You will need to see a professional if you get this, even at $600, unless you just want to take the full hit. So I found this on eBay. This is their 1099K tax reporting requirements for 2022 and updated. So there's a couple of things I want to point out in here, and what they say in this is that you will need to update your information so that they can send you this 1099K. Of course, this is going to be something that's going to be starting in 2022. And obviously, if you're selling that, you won't see this tax form until the 2022 tax season, which will be in 2023. So that is kind of something that We're getting out ahead of this right now, so you know this right now, so a year from now, you're not struggling. Another thing they do say, and it's like lower on this page or on maybe a different page, they're talking about you need to see a tax professional, and I agree with that 100% because there's a lot of angles to this. So what's really sparking this massive change, this 97% decrease in the reporting requirements to the IRS and to you, is the growing gig economy. Now, the gig economy is described as an economy of freelancers or people that are working. This is the way I look at it. Now, I'm going to call this a side gig or side hustle kind of thing, but when they say this, this isn't just people selling online. This is people that are working with Uber or DoorDash or one of those kinds of things, or people that do independent contract work and those kinds of things. That is the gig. Now, this term came about more or less from like comedians, and they would do a gig, but also side gig or side hustle, those kinds of things. It's estimated to be about 60 million people back in 2019. But when 2020 came along, we saw the biggest boom in that. Now the estimate is closer to 100 million people in the gig economy that are working on the side like this, and that is what they're going after, those people. I can't find any breakdown or evidence, but I believe the vast majority of those 60 to 100 million people are doing these side gig jobs in addition to the regular jobs just to try to make ends meet, just to get by, just so they can keep their family warm in the winter. So I'm going to give you a quick example of how this will impact you, but the first thing to know when you look at my example, I kind of set it up kind of generic, and I went with the 22% tax rate. Your individual tax situation will be different than anyone else's, but I do want to educate on a graduated tax system. A lot of people say, well, this extra is going to increase my tax bracket. No, it's not. It's a graduated tax system. For the first $99.50, you pay 10%, everyone, after your deduction, your standardized deduction or your itemized deduction. And then the next one would be 12% on $99.51 to $40,000. So I'm going with the $40,000 and up because it would probably be in that area, in that range for the median household. So that's 22%. That's why I use that number. Keeping all these numbers really simple. So I'm going to say if somebody sells on the side $2,000 a year. Now that is not much at all. That's not much at all. That's not even $200 a month of selling stuff on the side, which in some of these collectible cases could be one figure a month that you sell off to buy your 3, 4, 5, or 6. I mean, how many of y'all sell, or how many of you buy more than $200 a month worth of stuff? I mean, this is a very small example, and I'm going to show you a big example right after it. So, gross sales of $2,000. If you don't have any sort of proof or backing or anything to show what your expenses were, and you just take the hit and claim it all, your tax would be $440. Then your self-employment tax as Social Security and Medicare, I could spend a whole hour, I could probably spend 10 hours talking about Social Security and Medicare, and that's $300. See, the thing is, that's 15%. Your employer at a standard job pays half of that. So you usually only see the burden of half of that. Your employer sees the other half of that burden. So as self-employment, if you're self-employed, you pay it all. So in the down at the bottom, I got the penalty. Now, there's several situations where you can incur a penalty. If you don't put, you got to send in quarterly payments to the IRS. You have to send them every 3 months. Whatever you estimate that your profit was, give them a percentage of that. And if you don't, well, you get a penalty. Now, I know I suffered from a penalty by making a tax error. They waited exactly 1 year and 3 days, and then they sent me a request for that money plus the penalty, and it was painful, and it was 17%. So that's the number I used in here. Brings a grand total of $1,080. So it could be $770, right, when you do your taxes, or $1,080 if you've got a penalty, which they will. They'll know immediately, and they like to wait a year and get that 17% interest. Sweet, sweet interest. Let's look at this next example, and I want to talk about this. Sales of $20,000 would yield you. So this is actually flying right under the radar, like $19,999 or whatever. But you're flying right under the radar of the old system. And now these people that are used to flying under the radar, these are the people they really want to get their fingers into. So the tax of $4,400 is what you would owe if you did not have any sort of receipts or digital ledgers or anything like that. And if you didn't get with a professional, which you need to get with a professional CPA, not just H&R Block and say some random person that gets your case, Also, self-employment on this would be $3,000 because, it's 15%. And then the penalty of $3,400, 17%. And of course, there's ways to avoid that. Obviously, you can avoid that penalty by making quarterly payments or by making sure you do report this. And then the total of $10,800, that's what you could owe. Worst case scenario. So here's what I see happening with this and how it will impact all collectors. The first thing is that the small sellers out there, the ones that sell 2 or 3 items out there, are going to stop selling. They're going to throw their hands up in the air. I just don't want to deal with this anymore. Now, the vast majority of people that stop selling online are still going to be proactive, and they're going to sell or not so much sell. They're going to do other things. They're not going to be stopped, but it's not going to be online to where it's global and everybody get their hands on the stuff, and it's going to run the price up because there's going to be less and less available, and the less that's available, the bigger institutional sellers that are used to dealing with this can jack their prices up because there's no competition. I gotta say, 60 million people selling stuff online, you'll wipe out half of them, 30 million people, there is a big chance that we're going to see less and less and less collectible items popping up on eBay, on Mercari, on the Facebooks. And if they do pop up on Facebook, I'm going to tell you how they're going to look. So you're going to see more and more people putting up posts for sale that they're not really for sale. Trade only. And I started seeing this actually earlier this year, and I didn't understand exactly why. I didn't realize they had passed this. And I started seeing more and more for trade only. These are my wants. This is what I've got. Now, the thing about the barter system is that it is highly inefficient. The barter system, it's really hard to get two people that have exactly what the other one wants for the exact same value. Somebody's always losing in the end in the barter system. If you're trading, somebody's always getting a better deal, always. And in that situation, that makes it a lot harder. Now, a lot of people want to trade through the mail. You're both incurring shipping costs. So there's a lot more to this than a very efficient buying transaction that's going on right now. But I see the barter system coming back in a big way, and I see it overtaking selling by a lot of these people in the gig economy. Whenever it comes to a crowdfunding project, I ask all my buddies, like, hey, where are you getting the scratch to buy up one of these Rancors? And they all say the same thing. All of them say the same thing. I'm going to sell this, this, and this. They have this idea of what they're going to sell. And that's a big part of why a lot of these crowdfunds get that jump at the end. That jump at the end because the people have been working on selling stuff and getting some scratch together, some money, so that they can be part of a crowdfunding or whatever. And of course, at the end of it, it is once it's funded or the deadline's there, more people jump in for that reason too. But the main reason is people don't just sit around with 10 grand going, well, what do I want to throw it away on this month? No, they don't. They got to get $400-600 together. It takes a little bit of time for the average person. And with that, they look at selling. And if they don't have this avenue, or they're terrified of dealing with the IRS just to sell their stuff to buy something else, well, these are going to struggle. Maybe we'll never see a Rancor. Probably won't see a Rancor. In 2022, starting a new collectible line is going to be even more risky than ever. It was risky back in the day. Zika Toys put out these Sectars. They're great looking 3.75 inch, 4 inch figures, but they seem to have failed. They're stopped. They're not going forward with more characters, not doing anything else with it, which it would have been nice to see more go on with it, but they stopped. And I do think it's lack of interest, but then you have interest in one way, but demand can only be a real demand if there's money supporting it. And if you can't sell something to buy something new, you kind of lose some of that budget and disposable income. Also, same thing with Four Horsemen trying to get the Power Lords off the ground, and they did one wave, but wave 2 was unsuccessful in crowdfunding, so they scratched it. But guess what? If you try to do that in 2022, chances are it's going to be even harder, simply because less people have money, extra money, to spend on it. So they're also going to be going after friends and family. They've already started adding a fee to it earlier this year, and I do believe it was March. I'm not 100% sure, but I sent a friends and family to a buddy of mine, and I had to pay a fee. And so that's a thing that they're cracking down on, that because they believe everybody's just going to switch to friends and family. And so if you start doing too many friends and family transactions, you're going to be looked into. And I've heard reports, but I can't see it anywhere solidified, that your friends and family will, too many transactions like that, will lock up your account. I've heard that, have not seen that. I don't do hardly any friends and family on mine, but want to put that out there. The other thing is that there are people that are true collector hookups, like they hook up their buddy across the country with something, and they usually like charge you cost plus shipping. Guess what? Cost plus shipping will be gone. You're going to have to be covering all these taxes and fees and all this kind of stuff, so cost plus shipping is a thing of the past once this goes through. Oh, starting today. And a lot of people say that kids don't collect anymore. Well, kids do collect. They do. And my son collects. He has a bunch of stuff on his shelf. Sometimes he's like, hey, Dad, I want to get this, but I don't have any money. Can you sell this, this, and this for me? And I'll throw it up and sell it for him, and we'll make it work. But now, there's going to be less and less and less of that. And I'm going to have to be taking more control over his receipts. A lot of stuff he gets for Christmas and birthday from relatives, I don't have those receipts. I don't have that proof of purchase. So there's a lot of issues involved with that whole scenario. But as a kid that's not legal age to set up any of these accounts, they can't really sell on their own. What options do kids have? They can't have a paper route anymore. That sucks. So I really do hope this was helpful for you. I'm going to cite sources down below if you want to do more investigation yourself, but I want to bring awareness to this, and I wanted to have a little bit of fun. I want a dry, boring start to the year on this topic, but I feel like I owed it to everybody because of the fact that it was an oversight in my selling video, and I want to set this record straight before anybody suffers financial ruin. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Hey, even if you're upset at me, I don't care. Put a comment down there. We'll chat. Like, subscribe to Deer Hanger out.